also the way that I teach my clients. I think one reason that I love teaching so much is because I think being a realtor and being a teacher are so synonymous. And that's actually why I think teachers make really good real estate agents, because we are basically teachers and therapists kind of put into one, right? So we really need to walk these people through a really sometimes stressful part of their life. So all of the materials I can share with you guys, but in full transparency, I do not follow them to a T. And depending on the type of person I'm in front of, that's going to really dictate how much I stick to my actual presentation or how much I veer all outside of it. And then for anybody who's taken my classes before, you guys know I love the DISC profile, and you know that we use that at a very high level on our team. So a great, for instance, is if I'm in front of a D and I pull up a PowerPoint presentation, I have already lost them. They are like, dude, don't you even start to go through this crap with me. Just get to the point. I don't want my time wasted. So if I'm in front of a D, I think it was Claire and then obviously Miss Patel, who had said they want the actual presentation. If I'm in front of a high D, I'm not pulling up any kind of PowerPoint or anything like that. I'm just giving it to them straight. Now, there is one piece of paper that I always go through, and that's the net sheet, which we'll get into later. But that is really the only staple in every single presentation, is that piece, because I think it's so important, because it has kind of the steps, and then as well as it has the, hey, this is what to expect money-wise. And to me, that's a very important step. But if I'm in front of a high D personality, I'm not going to go through that presentation step by step, simply because that's not how they prefer to be communicated with. So the first thing that I would start with, I want to get to know them a little bit. Now, if you've done your pre-qualification, hopefully you already know their DISC when they're walking in, or what style of person they are, right? So there's a few easy ways to tell them. I'm not going to get a whole lot into the DISC. I feel like I do every time I teach because I love it so much. But just quick ways. A high D is get to the point. Why are you wasting my time? A high I will talk about everything under the sun except what you want to talk about. A high S will be very guarded, and they won't want to talk about their feelings or anything like that. And a high C only wants to hear statistics. So a high C is going to be like, well, I'm looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath on 0.25 acres, right? That's how you can identify really quickly who they are. And then based on who they are, tailor your presentation to that person. You're not changing anything that you say, you're simply changing the way you say it. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions around that? So Claire, I know you were someone who had said you wanted the physical presentation. What I would say to you is, don't use it so much as, like, don't read off of it. Try to internalize it and really know it. That way, even if the computer goes out, you're still good. Because a high I, they're not going to follow your outline. I mean, let's just call it what it is, right? Like, I'm a high I, as you guys can probably tell. I'm very expressive. I don't stay on topic. That's just not who I am. So if you were going to sit down with me and do a PowerPoint presentation, like when I bought my car, for instance, I found out that our car salesman had 3 kids. I found out the names and how old they were. Like, we talked about everything but the car, right? Because he was a good salesperson and he knew I didn't really care about that. I wanted to care about the person selling me the car. And that's who I wanted to give my business to. And that's how a high I is as well. So step 1 is going to be figure out who you're in front of, and then how is the best way to effectively communicate with that person. How are they going to hear your voice? That will set you up for success throughout the entirety of not just the transaction, but the entirety of the relationship. Because let's be honest, you don't want to just sell that person one house, right? You want to sell that person one house, and then when they get ready to sell again, they're coming back. And if they know any friends or family, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you have to use Drew. He's so much fun. Or whatever your specific, you have to use Stephanie because she knows her stuff. Whatever it is that makes you special, the best way you can build that relationship is communicating effectively, meaning communicating in the way that they prefer to be communicated with, right? As a salesperson, it's not your job to communicate how you like to be communicated with. It's your job to communicate how they prefer to be communicated with. Does anybody have any questions around that? I know that has nothing to do with consults or anything like that, but to me, that's the most important thing. That's more important than the actual presentation itself. No? Okay, so let's get into this. Lucy, I'm going to ask that you don't answer because I know you and I have been through this class a couple times. So for everybody else, what is the point of having a buyer consultation? Why have one? Feel free to unmute yourselves and answer.
Well, I mean, I just look at it, I mean, lots of different reasons. I mean, one, we're working for free until we sell them a house. So I believe you want to, you know, interview them in a way that they're interviewing you. So you're setting the expectation of what you're going to do for them prior to, finding them a home. So they see value in the relationship. But also, I mean, to find out what are they looking for. And I guess. I mean, so to me, I look at it as a combination of a lot of things, because in buyer world, they could, you could send them stuff, but what happens if they turn around and go to an open house and they don't use you?
That's exactly right.
So I feel like a lot of reasons why, but starting out, it's having to set that expectation for them, because I know it's not a new thing, but I feel like, when someone's buying a home, there's those people out there will just go and be like, oh, I'll meet you at your house tomorrow, versus that realtor that's like, I'd love to sit down with you, figure out exactly what you're looking for. I feel like old mentality is just, well, it's probably not old, it's probably still going on, but it's like, I'm guilty of it. Before I got my license, it was like, oh, I want to see this house. Can you meet us tomorrow? And I look back at it now and I think, gosh, I can't believe that girl just, showed up at this house, 15-acre, farm, and we could be axe murderers.
Exactly.
So
yep. Safety is a big deal. So safety is definitely one reason. You want to make sure that this person is not trying to get you to a sketchy place, obviously. And let's call it what it is. A lot of the people on this call are female. And as cute as I am, you guys are more likely to be, targeted for that kind of a thing. So that's a bigger deal for you guys than even for me. So Stephanie's right. It is absolutely safety, as well as she hit the nail on the head with expectations, right? And then Ms. Patel here put it in the chat, to build relationships. So expectations, relationships, safety. What else? Stephanie kind of hit on it.
All right, I know I was rambling on that. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You honestly answered pretty much all of it. The last piece is getting the buyer agreement signed. That is the point of a buyer consultation. Let's be honest. It is to build a relationship, to set any and all expectations that you as the agent want to set. And then it's to get the buyer agreement signed. Those are the three main things. And then, as Stephanie said, safety is kind of a bonus, but hopefully, that's not anything that's you're going to have to do on every single buyer presentation. So if we're coming from a place of relationship, expectations, and agreement signed, we know those are our three goals. What I want you to do is I want you to remember them in that order, right? I'll never forget, I was helping a new agent, and him and I were role playing. This was a couple of years ago, and we were role playing how to do it. And we sat down together, and he goes, "Hey there, Drew, my name is so-and-so, and I would love to represent you. Will you sign this buyer agreement?" Oh my goodness, no, I don't know who you are. Why would I sign an agreement with you if I don't even know what you're going to do for me, right? So remember it in order: relationship, expectation, agreement. You have to earn the right to ask for them to sign that agreement. So you start with building the relationship, right? That's where we talk about figuring out their disc and then communicating effectively. Find out why they're moving, motivation, right? Just like you would if you're going to meet with someone listing their house, you want to find out that motivation. What is the buyer's motivation? Because let's be honest, if their lease expires in 18 months, how motivated are they? Probably not very motivated, right? Is that someone that you want to go see houses tomorrow? Probably not. You need to know that, because you need to know, are you doing your clients who are very motivated and who need a place tomorrow a disservice by giving these people your time instead of them, right? That's not disrespectful. That is you making sure you're meeting your client's needs in the appropriate time frame that they need them met, right? So don't feel like you're being disrespectful to anybody. Just understand, hey, I have someone whose lease is expiring in 2 months, meaning if we don't find a place in the next 15 days, they may not be closing in a time frame where they can move in on time. Right? Versus someone who, yeah, my lease is up in about a year. I figured I'd start looking. They can wait. Right? Now, if they want to go see stuff and you all have a conversation and you say, hey, what if you find one before your lease is up? What happens then? Right? These are the types of questions that you would want to ask in a buyer presentation just to figure out what's going on in their head. Okay. But number one, build that relationship and find the motivation. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the Ford questions, right? I see Stephanie, I see Lucy, Claire, no, okay. So Ford is an old way of training. It stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And there's questions around all 4 of those aspects. That's how you build a relationship with people. So if you can't remember something that you want to ask them, or if you get lost in your presentation, think of a Ford question, right? If you're asking them, hey, what's important to you in a house? Oh, I want a 3-bed, 2-bath, whatever. And you can't remember what your follow-up question was going to be. Say, oh, you want a 3-bedroom house? Tell me about your family. How many people are going to be living in this house, right? What's the reason for the 3 bedrooms? And what that does is that strengthens that relationship and allows you time to get back on track. So family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. If you can stick to those 4 things, you're going to build a relationship very, very quickly. I like to start every buyer consult with at least one question about all 4, because I think if you hit on all 4, it opens up a dialogue and helps them trust you a lot more. So tell me a little bit about your family. What do you guys do for work? What do you guys do for fun? And then when you buy this house, what's that going to do for you? Right? That gets into the dream portion. And then, okay, now let's quit talking about it and let's talk about how to do it. Let's talk to me about what you guys are looking for, right? And then we're going to go right into the actual presentation itself. And we'll always start with a needs analysis. So what are you guys looking for? What do you need me to find you? So that's the relationship piece, right? That one's really straightforward. I would imagine everybody on this call can build a relationship, right? You wouldn't be in this business if you couldn't. So I'm confident you guys can do that. So with your all's permission, I'm going to move on to expectations, because to me, that's the most important part. That's even more important than the agreement, in my opinion. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. So let's talk about expectations. Now, I want you all to give me some expectations. So what expectations do you feel like are going to be important for you to set as the agent for your buyers? And again, just unmute yourself. Feel free to talk out. I'm not going to call on anybody or anything like that.
Okay, one very important one that I believe I learned in one of your classes was it's better for me to ask you 500 questions right now and go see 5 houses than ask you 5 questions and then go see 500 houses.
That's exactly right. Right. Like, I know some of you said you'd never been on a buyer consult. Has everybody shown property before? Has anybody shown property to a buyer who's taken you to like 50 freaking houses and they can't make up their mind? I hate to tell you guys, if you have been in that position, it's because you as the agent did not do your job. And let's be clear, I know this because I was the number one culprit of this, right? I was that person who on our website, when someone said, let's go see a house, I was like, okay, I'm excited. Let's do this, right? So believe me, I have failed at every avenue at this. That's why I know so much, because I failed so much at it, right? So, but Lucy's exactly right. I got to a point where I was like, there was one particular buyer, and I will never forget them, super sweet family, and they didn't know any better. And I bet you we looked at every house in Fern Creek in the zip code of 40291. Every single property I was probably inside if it was under $250,000. And it was for about 4 months. And I was like, oh my God, I'm done with these people. They can't make a decision. Well, yeah. I mean, have you all ever like shopped online and you've seen like 20 of the same t-shirt and you can't choose? Why is that? Because you have too many options. That's a thing, right? So it's not the buyer's fault they couldn't make a decision. It's my fault for giving them so many options. So what you have to do as the agent, figure out what they're looking for, and then tell them. Part of my presentation now says, guys, listen, if I'm showing you more than 8 properties, I'm not doing my job as your agent. So if we're looking at property 7, 8, or 9, I might say to you guys, hey, let's sit back down because clearly I'm not seeing what you guys are looking for and I need to get on your page, right? Own the fact that it is your fault. That's totally fine. Listen, I'm not seeing what you guys are looking for. So right now I'm setting the expectation that I'm not going to show them 50 million houses. They're not going to go see every house in Louisville. If that's what they want to do with an agent, I'm just not the agent for them, right? I want to help as many people as I can, and I can't do that by showing everybody every house in Louisville. So now it's amazing. Once just that one sentence, once I added that into my buyer presentation, now clients will go, oh my gosh, Drew, this is the 6th house. We're not going to have to sit down, are we? I'm like, guys, relax. Like it's fine, right? But it's amazing how that completely shifted their mindset around it. And then I took it an even step further because let's be honest, in today's market, does every buyer have 8 houses they can see? Probably not, especially if they're under 200,000. Those are few and far between right now. So I took it a step further and I said, guys, what we're going to do in the initial list, and normally I'll pull Flex up if I have enough time. I'll say, guys, don't be shocked if our initial list is only 3. I see that as a good thing though, because what that tells me is we found the cream of the crop. We found the top 3 properties in the entire city for you guys. So what that probably means is one of those 3 is the house for you. Do you think that's going to change how they're going to go to those showings? Absolutely. Right? Now, what about those buyers who and we've all had them, who say, oh, I want to see what else is out there before making a decision? Is there an expectation you can set around that? Absolutely. Right? Now, the expectation is not, hey, when you find one, you write an offer, darn it. Right? The expectation comes in the form of a question. So the question would be, by the way, I'm just curious, how do you guys make decisions? If you're standing in the house that you and I can agree is the right one for you, how are you going to know when you're ready to move forward? Do you think that would be useful information for you as the agent to know? Absolutely, right? So if they tell you, well, typically when I'm making a decision, I get really quiet, right? Someone told me that one time. So in every house, they're talking my head off because they're a high I, right? The one house where they were silent the whole time, if I didn't know that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, they're mad at me, right? Or, oh my gosh, they hate this house. They're in a bad mood. But because I asked the question of how do you make a decision, it told me when they're being quiet, it's because they're thinking and they know and they're running through their head why this is the house for them. So then I had the ability to say to them, hey, you're awfully quiet in this showing. You told me that would happen when it's the one for you. Are you ready to write an offer? And then it was, you know what, I am. And all of a sudden, I'm not coming across as a salesperson, right? I'm coming across as someone who knows this person, who knows their needs, and who is willing to help them. Because one thing I was very afraid of when I was a new agent is I didn't want to be that salesperson, right? We've all seen that horrendous 4-letter TV programming channel or that HGTV. And we see these realtors on there who, in my opinion, give us a bad name, right? They're trying to talk everybody into these houses. Guys, it is not your job to talk anybody into a house, right? It is your job to make sure that they find the right one for them, right? That's now an expectation I set too. I'm like, guys, when I show you property, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't buy it. That's my job. I'm going to point out everything that's wrong with it. Of course, I'll point out good stuff too, but my job is to tell you why you shouldn't buy it. And when you win the argument because you're going to tell me why you should, that's when you know it's the one for you. Do you think that changes a relationship between an agent and a buyer? Abso-freaking-lutely. So those are just a few examples of expectations you can set. What are some other expectations that you could set with your buyers?
Let me ask you real fast. How did you ask them about when you know it's the right house? When you said like the one person was quiet, what did you do? You said you just asked them how they know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll talk about, hey, what are you guys looking for in a property? We'll talk about, hey, this is the way I show, right? I'm going to point out everything that's wrong with it. When you guys win the argument, that's when you guys know it's the house for you. When we get to that point, Stephanie, how will you be able to make that decision?
Oh, okay. And then that person just happened to say they're
They
quiet.
just happened to tell me, hey, when I make that decision, I will get quiet because I'll be in my head making sure and verifying that it's the right house for me. Right? That was just the answer that they gave me. So that answer could be millions of different things. I mean, that answer could be, well, I want to call my parents in. Is that useful information? Absolutely, because let's be clear, parents hate every house you will show to their kids. Right? That's just how parents are. They will hate every single house that you show to their children. So if they are part of that decision-making process, I want to talk to the parents. So I will call the parents before our first showing if I find out that parents will be part of the decision-making process. Right? And that should, honestly, that should be part of your pre-qualification when you're booking the buyer consultation is, hey, who is going to be making this decision? Is it just going to be you? Do you have a significant other? Are mom or dad going to have a vote? Is cousin or is your dog Sparky going to be involved? Who's going to be part of this decision? Because I'd love to talk to everybody at one time if that's possible. So get it, if it's a couple, get both of the people in front of you, because I've lost buyers because I talked to the husband, really connected with him or the wife or whoever, and then only to find out that the other person had already chosen a realtor for them to use. Right? So get both of them there. That way we can all be on the same page. Right? So, and I've done buyer consults I was helping a college kid and I did it with him. I did it with his fiance. I did it with his parents and I did it with her parents. So I had one buyer consult for 6 people who were all going to make a decision on the house they were buying together. And it was a lot and it was crazy. There were a lot of questions. However, I've already gotten 5 referrals from those 6 people. Right? And I'll give you guys another one. Referrals are another great expectation that you can set in the buyer consult. Right? If they don't know, hey, by the way, when you hear someone looking to buy or sell in real estate, give them my number. If they don't know that, how are they ever going to know that if you don't tell them? There's nothing wrong with it. It's all in how you present it. Right? So at the very end of the very last step of my presentation is, hey guys, was this beneficial? Oh, absolutely. We are so excited. Well, good. I'm glad that you guys got some information. Let me ask you, who of your friends or your family needs this information next? Right? It's not do you know anybody? It's which of your friends or family needs this information next? And hopefully they'll give you at least one name, if not more. How awesome would it be if every buyer consult you'd booked gave you another name or another lead or someone else to put in command? How quickly do you think your database would grow? Pretty quick, right? But that's an expectation, right? And listen, if as soon as you hear someone looking to buy or sell in real estate, shoot me their number, right? They need to be with the best, just like you all. Don't they deserve that? Well, yeah, I guess. Have fun with it, right? Make it yours. What other expectations? Lucy, I know you got a lot. Claire, Minu, any thoughts? What other expectations can you set? Think about the entire process of buying a home. Think about when you bought your home. Did the agent leave out anything?
Inspections or going for can we see this house that it's maybe at a little bit of a higher price than what we talked about first, kind of thing? I don't know.
Absolutely, right? They're pre-approved up to 200 and they want to see 225 because they think they can talk them down in price. Is that happening in today's market, guys? Shoot that down before it becomes a waste of time. What else?
What about how you want them to communicate with you? Like
Yes.
your time.
However, tweak it. It's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. And I think it was Stephanie who had said that earlier. How do you like to be communicated? Or no, it was Amy. How do you like to be communicated with? One of the most powerful questions you can ask. Because if you're working with, and again, when I was a new agent, I was a younger kid. I was not intelligent at the moment. And I was learning real quick how not to do real estate. Let's put it that way. And I was working with an older couple to buy a home and I kept texting them and they'd take forever to get back to me. and I would text them, and then I'd go to a showing or something else, and they'd call me, and I couldn't respond because I'm busy. So I'd shoot them another text, and they would never respond to me. And it took me forever to realize they were not texters. They were phone call, phone call, phone call. That's how they communicated. And one day it took them literally going, well, Son and Jim, I tell you what, you love that texting, but I'd rather talk to you on the phone. Like, they had to get a little bit frustrated with me and tell me, hey, we prefer talking on the phone. It made me realize, oh, wow, I kind of suck, right? But it's okay. Like, it's okay to have those learning moments, but it was definitely one that was like, man, that's so easily fixable. And literally, it's just one question. What's the most effective way to communicate with you? How do you like to be talked to? So for some people, it's text. For some people, it's a phone call. Believe it or not, for some people, it's email still. So figure out what their preferred way is. Now, Claire, to go back to your point, when I'm talking about a contract with someone, I do like that to be over the phone because I want to hear the tonality. I want to hear how it washes over them. So I will tell them, hey, if you prefer to text, that's fine. There are a few things that I really like to go over the phone just to make sure everybody understands and nothing gets misconstrued. So do I have your permission to call you when it's a contractual issue? Just ask the permission to say, hey, this is when I normally like to call. Is it okay if I do? And then you get their buy-in, and then it's absolutely fantastic from there on out because they know what to expect, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, they'll call you like, oh my gosh, have we heard anything about the contract? No, not yet. I haven't called you guys. But now all of a sudden they're jumping out of their house of communication into mine because they're so excited, right? What else? We could spend more than just today's hour class on expectations. I mean, there are so many. And the reason that I know this is because I've screwed up so many times. I've been like, how do I want to avoid that? Oh, I'll just make an expectation in the buyer consult, right? So my buyer consult changes after every single client, right? There's some things I take out. There's some things I put in. The staples remain the same, but the expectations are slightly different. And even with different DISC personalities, like we talked about at the beginning of the class, my expectations for a D are different than my expectations for a C, right? My expectations for a D might be, hey, listen, just so you know, and I'm sure you guys are aware of this, you all are not my only client. So you may call me or text me, and it may take me a couple of hours to get back to you, right? I hope that that's going to be okay. Because I'm sure that when I'm with you guys, you're going to want my full attention and not answering my phone. Does that make sense? Absolutely. But to a high D personality, their biggest fear is having their time wasted or just sitting around wondering. So if a D asks a question, they expect a response like that, unless they're told otherwise. So if I'm in front of a high D, I'm going to say, hey, if you ask me a question, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. But if it is a couple hours, that's just because I'm with other clients. And I hope you can understand that when I'm with you, I want to give you my full attention. So that's what I'm doing for them. But I promise you, I will get to it as soon as possible. If you would like a quicker response, I will give you our administrator, Samantha's contact information, and you can get her a lot quicker than you can get me. Right? So set that expectation. And if I'm in front of a C, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be, hey, if you send me a question, just understand it's going to take me a little bit to find that information for you. So it takes me a couple hours to get back to you, it's because I'm finding all the information that you need and just verifying it's correct. Because that's what a high C cares about, information, and that it's correct information. Right? So I'm telling them, hey, if you reach out to me and I don't respond to you, don't freak out. But I'm telling it to them in a different way. Does that make sense to everybody? So your different DISC personalities will warrant different ways to set those expectations. What else? What other expectations can you set with people?
Trust.
What was it, Minu?
Trust.
Trust? Okay, what do you mean by that?
Like, they need to trust you, like you are not like, I'm thinking, I'm not sure. I'm on right or no.
No, you're on the right track.
Yeah, they need to trust you. Like you are doing best for them and you will not leak any information or anything like that. So,
Absolutely. Right. Set that expectation that, hey, I'm the professional and I'm going to do this in the best way that I see possible. Did I lose you guys for a little bit? Oh,
no.
doop, doop.
Hello?
It looks like he's frozen.
He froze, yes.
Maybe the wave caught him.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
What happened to Drew? I'm on another training and I look up and he's gone.
he got
Something
disconnected. His screen froze and he got disconnected.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Let me make sure that it's not giving me trouble getting in here.
What
But
was the
we are
last
missing
word?
CE in the background.
I know, right? My beach went away. I am no. So, all right, let's try this again. So back to the expectations portion, right? What other expectations can you set? So meaning we're talking about trust, right? And are the professional. So-
their trust, yeah.
So, and I think with that comes, hey, this is how I do business.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely go into setting the expectation of, hey, this is what I'm gonna do for you. I'm going to work on in your best interest. What about one that we've had for about 1.5 years now is, listen, we may not be the ones to find the home online for you, right? Because everybody's on their phone all the time on these apps looking for the houses. Like one time I had a client get a little upset, like, well, I had to find the house. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I had you on a search. I can't be in front of my computer all day long because I have to go help my clients. And they got really upset with me about it, right? So I had to, then I incorporated, hey, listen, you may be the one to find the property and you are more than welcome to look while I'm looking as well. That's totally fine. And you may find it before I do, in which case, good job. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it does, right? I make a joke out of it now. So, but you definitely, in my opinion, need to set that expectation, because if people think you're supposed to be the one to find the property and then they're the one to find it, that's no good, right? Because at the end of the day, a client's frustration with you just comes down to the fact that they had a different expectation than what actually happened. So that's why it's so important to set your expectations for how you do business, right? And you could hear my expectations and be like, that Drew, I tell you what, he's crazy. He got hit in the head way too many times as a little kid. I would never set that expectation. That's perfectly fine. This is your all's business. I'm just telling you how I run mine, right? And there's no right or wrong. It's just do what feels right to you, right? Like I have, our first son is due in a month. So I've already started prepping my buyers. Hey, just so you know, every Wednesday, I'm not going to be working. That is my day with my son. So I've already told my clients Wednesdays are my day off. So if you try to get me, I'm not going to answer. Again, you can get with our administrative staff. Absolutely. If you want to see a property, I have a team, so they can definitely go take you to that property, but it will not be me, just so you know, right? So I'm telling people up front, do not bother me on a Wednesday. That's when I am spending 100% of my time with my son. And if you guys have kids and they have sporting events or anything like that, set that expectation, right? My son has soccer practice every Tuesday at 5. So if you want to see a house Tuesday at 5, I can't show it. I'll get you in as soon as I can, but it cannot be Tuesday at 5 or whatever that is. So who has a scheduled day off? I lost my ability to do a gallery view, which kind of stinks, but hopefully you have a scheduled day off. That's super important, right? Keller Williams teaches us God, family, business, right? So you got to take a day for at least the family, right? So figure out your day off and then tell your clients when your day off is so that they know not to bother you. Because your family is an appointment, right? And that's a more important appointment than any buyer consult you'll ever have or any showing you'll ever have. So make sure you tell them that, set that expectation.
So this is Stephanie. All right. So this is a very amateur question. So we're setting this expectation, and I know there's a lot of buyers out there, you know, they're the old, I don't want to say old school, but they're the, we just open the door and you know, and then we're done and I'm not going to give you 3%. So how do you set the expectation of letting them know in the sense of like, I'm worth the percentage that you're going to pay in your commission, but like you're also saying, some people's mind think, oh, I found the house, so why should I pay a realtor? There's so many other things. And obviously as a new person, I don't know what all those things are, but what are those things that I'm going to show them and tell them that I'm going to do for them other than basically showing up and opening the door for them?
Right. Great question. Not amateur at all.
Thank you.
So here's what I would tell you as far as that goes. My answer and your answer will probably be different because to me, they're exactly right in the sense that anybody can open the door. Now, Harry Borders, obviously we all know Borders and Borders, has a stat that you are more than welcome to share with them because to me, this is only going to become an issue if it's a for sale by owner, right? Because any house you take them to see, your commission is built in and the seller's paying for it. So the buyers aren't technically paying your commission. Now, part of my presentation is going over that piece of it because of exactly what you said. Some people just don't know, especially first-time home buyers. And honestly, that's my favorite part of the buyer consultation. And this is exactly how I deliver it. No joke, you can see me with any client. I don't care their disc personality. It goes like this. And I'll be going over the net sheet at this point. And Stephanie, you know, when we get to the closing table, there's just a few other things that we have to bring to the closing table. However, I'm not sure if you know this or not, Stephanie, but this is my favorite part of today's meeting. If you didn't know this, you get all of this for free. You are the luckiest person in the world. And that's exactly their reaction. They giggle, right? And again, people don't remember what you said to them. They remember how they felt when they were in your presence. So me, the kind of person I am, I want to keep it light. I want to keep it upbeat. I want to keep them laughing because I like to have a good time wherever I go. And that's how I want to be remembered. So I'll make a joke out of almost anything. But that was a huge turning point for me when I put that in my buyer consult, because number one, if a first-time home buyer almost never knows that, right? That the seller pays their commission. So I explained it to them. But then I also, just like I was telling, I think it was Minu earlier, I'm going to tell them, hey, you may find the house. I'm not here to make sure you find the house. I'm here to make sure you get it for the best price and in the best condition, meaning they do the repairs and that we get to closing as quickly as possible. That's what you're hiring me for. And oh, by the way, if you hire me, we're going to have a damn good time doing it. Pardon my French. But I like to have fun. And if you don't like to have fun, we're not going to get along.
Okay, say that one more time. Like you just said 3 key things. Like you're hiring me.
My job is not to find the houses for you. My job is to make sure you get it for the best price.
Best price.
In the best condition. And that we close whenever you want to. Whenever we're able to, let's put it that way. Don't say whenever you want to, because if the seller can't accommodate that, that could fall back on you. So whenever we can.
Okay.
But your job as the agent, the internet has made it completely different. Your job is not just to find the house, right? And I'll be honest with you guys, I set those auto searches and I don't do a lot of searching after that. Like I'll set them up on the auto search, but I'm not at my desk a whole lot. I'm not in front of my computer a whole lot. Those auto searches are doing the bulk of the searching. And so when one comes through, the client will reach out to me and say, hey, this address, when can we go see it? And I'll get it set up. So I tell them, you may find the house, and I'll tell them, you may find the house. It doesn't happen that frequently, but it happens very frequently. But that's not my job. My job is to make sure I negotiate my tail off for them and get them the best price in the best condition, meaning the repair is done the right way, and that we close in a time frame that works for them. And then, like I said, add your own spin on it. So figure out what is the additional spice or whatever you want to call it that you're going to put on it that's going to make it the Stephanie way to do it. Right? For some people, it's, man, I'm going to know this market front and back. For some people, it's, I don't even know. We're going to have a beer at every house we go to. I don't know. Whatever your specific catch or value is, figure out what it is. And if you don't know it yet, don't have a buyer consult till you know it. That needs to be your first thing. Because that's going to build kind of your value gap. Or excuse me, your value proposition. Good question, though, and it is not elementary. Any other questions about expectations or anything like that? Coming up on 5 minutes, and I want to make sure I'll give you guys a little bit of extra time, obviously, because I got kicked off. But I want to make sure we get enough time for the agreement signed. Who's nervous about that? Be honest. Again, I can't see everybody. This is really weird. I'm assuming some of you guys who've never had a buyer consult are nervous about asking them to sign an agreement. Because I know I was the first time, right? This is not something I did right out of the gate. This is something where I was used to just meeting people at properties. And then I was like, all right, I'm not doing that again. We're going to have a sit down. And the first time I ever did it, I would not recommend this, but I was so nervous. It was a buddy of mine. It was actually a buddy of mine's brother. And I met him at a bar so that I could have a couple beers to have the courage to ask him to sign this. And then, of course, signed it, or when I asked him to sign it, it was no problem. Because if you do your presentation the way it needs to be done, when you put it in front of them to sign, they can't sign quick enough. They are super excited to work with you because you've shown them the value. You've shown them why they need to use you as the agent. And I'll be honest, I've never had one person not sign it. So,
question about having them sign that.
Yeah.
I actually met with first person I did a buyer consult with last night. I thought that he might be out of his apartment lease in March, but he actually said he's going to renew for another year. So we're talking, this time next year, going and doing the whole process over again. So when, between now and then, I know I should, keep in contact with him. When between now and then is best for me to get him to sign that agreement?
That's really going to be up to you. So GLAR has a form that is a standard standalone form if you want to use it. I am the kind of person, I will not ever go after anybody for the money. Meaning, if you say that you and I are working together and you walk into an open house and the other agent writes the offer for you, and then they use that person, even though we have a signed agreement, I am not going to go after that agent and make them give me that commission. That's just not in me. That's not the kind of person I am. If that were to happen, I would say I didn't do my job to show that client enough value that they left me out. Like, I want my clients to be like, nope, Drew has to be part of this. And if they don't, that's on me. That's not on them. So I'm never going to go after anybody for the money. And I say that because the GLAR form has some money stuff in there. And that is a big reason why you would use a buyer agreement. Our team made our own buyer agreement, and it has nothing to do with money. So to answer your question, Corey, when the first time I meet with someone, I don't care when their timeline is. Our agreement is literally 2 lines long, and it says blank, they fill in their name, is super excited to work with blank, we fill in our name, to work together to find a house. And it's that simple. Ours does not have a timeline. Ours does not say, if you do not write a contract in 90 days, whatever. Ours does not say, this agreement is good for X amount of days. Ours just says, hey, we're really excited to work together. And I will tear that up whenever I'm asked to tear it up. And I tell them that. If they do push back on me a little bit, I'm like, guys, this is, non-commitment. This is us just saying, hey, we think we want to do this thing together. Let's do it. And this is just you guys saying, you want to start this process with me. If that changes, let me know. So for me, Corey, if I were in your position, I would go ahead and have him sign something. But I would not have him sign something that says, hey, you need to, contract in the next 6 months or a year. Because obviously that's not going to be a possibility. So, but as long as you stay in contact with him, I would just have another sit down, probably 90 days or so before his lease is over. And then at that point, I would definitely get it signed. That was kind of a roundabout answer, but I would say minimum 90 days before his lease is up. Does anybody have any questions about that? Because I know that always gets a lot of questions. Okay, questions about asking them to sign the agreement? Because again, that's one that a lot of people are normally very, very skittish of or scared of simply because they've never done it.
Well, I think it's the type of agreement. Like if you're saying yours is literally just a one page, half a paragraph saying they fill their name in, you fill yours in, you make it a simple, hey, I'm excited to work with you and find you a home. That's like all right, let's do this thing, versus where the one on, like you said, GLAR is like, it seems kind of stuffy. Like, you must sign this and this is what you got to promise me. So I think maybe it's a lot going to be about the approach of how you sit down and share with them. Are you making you sign an agreement, or are you just saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you? So I think probably a lot of it is going to be finding our style and the type of agreement that we ask them to sign.
I would 100% agree with you. However, I will tell you, the way I asked people to sign was no different back when we used the GLAR form.
Yeah,
So
okay, good.
Our form, the way I presented it was the exact same. I never said, you're going to owe me money or anything like that. The way I close, if I've done my buyer consultation right, it leads right into the signing of the agreement. And it's literally this. Hey guys, do you have any other questions? Remember at the beginning, I told you I wanted you guys to walk out of here with no questions. Do you have any left? And they'll usually say, no, we don't. And if they do, we'll answer them and I'll ask them again. No, we don't have any questions. Okay, so we've accomplished the goal that you guys are leaving here with no questions, correct? And this part's important. And they'll say yes. So they've said yes one time already, right? Okay, well, do you feel like tonight was valuable? Again, they're always going to say yes. So now they've said yes 2 times. This is called momentum, right? So then the third question is, okay, well, I think I'm in a place where I'm ready to say, I want to work with you guys. Are you in that place too? And then it should lead to a very easygoing yes. And then boom, there you go. Another really easy question is, do you see any reason why we should not work together? No, not really. Okay, fine. Well, let's put pen to paper. Is there anything? And normally that would go, I would build momentum to the no in that point. So it would go something like, hey, do you guys, you can start here. Do you guys have any other questions? No, we don't. Okay, perfect. Is there anything that I did not cover tonight? No, you covered it all. Fantastic. They said no twice, right? Do you see any reason why we wouldn't be a fit to work together? No, I can't think of anything. All right, perfect. I'm in the same place. So let's go ahead and do this thing. Again, know who you're in front of though. Are you in front of a high D? Are you in front of a high I? Are you in front of a high S? Are you in front of a high C? Because they're all motivated by something different. And my presentation is going to be different for each of them. A high D, I just told you, are we going to do this thing? A high I is, all right, listen, I can't stand it anymore. I'm ready to go see some awesome houses. Let's go ahead and say we're going to work together so we can go do that. All right, a high S is totally different. A high S is motivated by benefits. Well, guys, listen, I am ready to make sure you guys are protected while we go look at these houses. Are you guys ready for that? Absolutely. So I got to show them the benefit. S's are going to be your trickiest people, by the way. And then your high C's, they're just all about information. So give them whatever information they need to sign that. That should have already been done in the buyer consult. Right? What other questions about that? Lucy, I'm going to put you on the spot. How have your buyer consultations been going?
Good. I'm setting expectations and all that. And one that I think it's also important is inspections.
Very much so. Are you having any problem with them signing an agreement to work with you?
No, I don't. I think that the less mystery you put to it, the less, the more relaxed you are in explaining it in an overall manner. You don't have to explain each line of the agreement. Just these are my commitments to you, and these are your commitments to me. And in the rare case, in the very rare case that a for sale by owner, for example, wouldn't pay that commission, which is very rare that they wouldn't agree to pay the buyer side the 3%, then you would have to pay it or something. I might mention that. But yeah, it's always, every time I do a buyer consultation, they will sign it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Just like brush over it. You don't have, like you do with the contract when you know, when you really know it, when you really read it, I guess.
Be confident, right? That's what she's saying, guys. Be confident. You're not asking them to do anything illegal. So don't be like, do you maybe, possibly, kind of, sort of want to sign? No, be confident, right? Ask for the business. You guys are rock star agents. I know that because you work for Keller Williams. Keller Williams only lets rock star agents in. You guys thought they let anybody in. That's not true. They let in rock stars. So always, 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 just like Lucy said, be confident in presenting it, right? Now, she said when you know the contract backwards and forwards, so until you know how to present it backwards and forwards, you will have to fake that confidence. That's just how it is, right? But feel free to fake it and feel free to mess it up. You're going to say something and you're going to go, oh my gosh, why did I say that? Guess what? The other people have no idea you're trying to read from a script. They're going to think it's just normal, right? So don't be so hard on yourself is basically where I'm coming from. Ask them if they want to work with you. And if you've done your job in the consultation, like I said, they can't sign fast enough. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else? I'll give you guys an additional 4 minutes. I'll give you guys 10 extra minutes since I was technical difficulties. So what did we not cover that you guys want to pick my brain about, or what do you want to go over that may or may not be related to consults? Feel free to ask me anything for the next 4 minutes.
How do you present to them if you do, Drew? I don't remember this part. How does the process go? Like I have a little page that is kind of an infographic, and I say, well, you start with the first step. You already checked. You have already found a great realtor to work with. So check. You're already ahead of a lot of people. So second step is this, and third step, and that's about the 10-step process. So how do you do that process to make it kind of clear for them?
So we do have an infographic, and it looks like, a little squiggly road or whatever with each of the stops for each of that. I don't go all the way through that. I do the way I do the process is via our net sheet. And I tell people there's kind of 4 checkpoints, right? So there is, you find the house, you get your offer accepted, you turn in your earnest money. That's checkpoint 1. Checkpoint 2 is inspection. Checkpoint 3 is appraisal. Checkpoint 4 is close. So I tell people those are the 4 checkpoints. And then I tell them, as we get close to each one, I'm going to call you and we're going to go through what to expect with each of these. So I'm setting an expectation that later on, I'm going to set more expectations. right? But that's a very key thing. So whenever I'm going over the actual process with them, I'll tell them, hey, these are the 4 checkpoints. And as you know, as we get through each one, we're going to celebrate because we're one step closer to you guys owning a home. But we do have an infographic that shows all of the actual steps. And I think it's like 10 or 12 different steps, but I only go through the 4.
Okay, say it one more time, of course, please.
Sure. So checkpoint 1, find the home, write the offer, turn in the earnest money when it's accepted. Checkpoint 2, inspections. Checkpoint 3, appraisal. Checkpoint 4, close and tell Drew he's the best realtor ever.
Mhm.
All right, any other questions?
Do you say anything trying to guide them away from like looking at Zillow or making sure, I mean, is it
Good
just what you're saying anyways that includes you into that process and that's the whole point of it anyways? Or do you specifically say, don't look at these sites, talk to me?
Yeah, so typically I will tell them that I hate Zillow and that Zillow's, what's the word I'm looking for? Information is wrong more often than it's right. So I'll tell them to go on there and look at, get the idea of the home and then send it to me and I'll check to see if it's available. But more often than not, those are not available. So that at that point, I want to try to get them onto my app, right? That's the big thing is you want them on your app. So what I'll tell people, as we all know, Zillow sucks and we all know why. So give them some of that information, right? Hey, I had a buyer send me a house once and the house that they wanted had sold 5 years ago and Zillow had not recorded that it had sold. Like, I don't want you to get so excited about a house, send it to me, and then I got to break your heart telling you it sold 5 years ago. I don't want to be that person. So Zillow's information is not reliable. My app is updating constantly every couple seconds. So if you have to look somewhere and you don't, you want to keep looking, I'm totally fine with that. Just please use my app. Here's the QR code to scan to get it. So yeah, I would definitely hit on that because I've had people send me 10 houses on Zillow and none of them are for sale. And then they get frustrated. And all of a sudden that frustration is at me who just told them, hey, those are not available. I don't want that frustration coming at me. So I hit that on the front end. So yeah, that's a great expectation. All right, anything else?
This has been great. Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome. I am sorry that I had some technical difficulties, but just like the year 2020, we pivot, right? And hopefully, so I will put in the chat my contact information. If you guys ever have a question, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to answer questions or help in any way that I can. So there's my email, and then here is my cell phone. Shoot me a text or whatever, give me a call, and I'm happy to help. Other than that, I don't know, is Miss Amy still here? Am I good to turn this off or no? Amy, can you hear me? What do you want me to do?
Thank you.
Everyone.
Okay, I'm just, okay. All right, see
Thank
you
you
guys.
so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.